Steve Irwin has you pinned down in a headlock. What cool facts does he tell the audience about you and your habitat?
Crikey. This animal lives in a dilapidated bachelor pad and is capable of eating his weight in pudding over a weekend. Edit. Thanks for the gold and the little angel thingy.
Audible gasp from the dilapidated bachelor pad.
Audible gasp from his weight in pudding.
Pudding maker rubs his hands from behind a tree.
I rub my hands because I know what goes into the pudding.
Oi. Look at this fella, he's of the hairless variety. Rare and silky smooth to the touch, he actually likes when you rub his head. Look at his leg going.
Got a good laugh imagining Steve Irwin giving scritches to a bald man on the head. Thanks, mate.
This little fellow looks upset, but he actually craves physical contact. Edit. Lot of you weirdos are into thumbs in buttholes.
He's a little sad right now. Why don't you pet him? Give him a little rub.
Red rocket, red rocket.
Okay, that made me chuckle.
This one right here can put up a fight if you put a bowl Cheetos within the area. Good thing is that this bloke is actually calm because he ate a full bowl of Cheetos.
I find it easiest to subdue one of these little fellas by withholding a local treat, Mount Dew, till it settles down and plays nice.
This little bugger simulates reproduction up to 5 times a day. Almost exclusively without a mate. Then I imagine he would shove a Dorito in my mouth and chuck me back into my bedroom.
Steve, in a barely audible whisper as he gets low to the ground. The U/squealiness is an endangered fella, meanin' there aren't many of 'em left, and he most likely won't find a mate. Nah, if you watch air, he's trying to attract a Sheila. 5 minutes of silence as Squealiness stares at his screen, before typing sup to the OnlyFans girl he subbed to. Followed by more dead silence. Better luck next time, little fella. If you see one of these in the wild, it's crucial you give them the space they need, as many of them can be highly poisonous.
If you knew how hard I laughed at this, you'd be proud of yourself.
Ditto. I almost never laugh loud, but I full belly laughed at sup.
Oh my gosh. Me, too.
Oi, now looky here. Notice how he seems almost entirely apathetic to my attack. That's because he spends almost every waking moment pretending not to be bothered by the current situation he is in, despite the fact that he is incredibly irritated. To him, this is just another Monday morning staff meeting. He is truly a gorgeous example of mental endurance.
That's the spirit. How the foo-foo fuck did I get 2.5k upvotes for this lame comment? It was sincere but still.
#crikey.
Now I know what you're thinking, this here fella looks like an absolute killer. He's big, he's covered in hair, and if he wanted to, he could probably knock my block off with one swing. The truth is, his kind look far more scary than they really are. Despite their size, they're actually quite timid, and will only attack when threatened and backed into a corner. Truth is, he just wants to find a Sheila he can settle down with and, who knows, maybe have a couple of kids. Sadly, this fella hasn't had much luck lately. He's the last of his line, and it would be crying shame if he never got a family of his own. / puts PS2 controller in my hands /. Luckily, here at Australia Zoo, we have a state-of-the-art gaming room, where this fella can play the video games of his youth, and relive his days as a juvenile, when life seemed so full of possibilities. Edit. Type this just before I went to bed thinking I was far too late to the party to get noticed. Thanks for all the upvotes and awards. I hope this made you laugh and I'm sorry if it makes you sad. If it did, please be kind to yourself, life has a way of untangling itself. Steve would want you to care for yourself just as much as he'd want you to care for nature.
That made me a little sad. Edit. That made me a lot sad.
See, this is why you take physical exercise seriously, kids. If you act like him and sit in front of a computer all day, it's really easy to pull a sneaky one in ya.
Steve picks you/Celio009 up from his hind legs as he thrashes about before giving up. Steve, now isn't this a beauty? Just look at the stretch marks on this big fella. Now this air's what we call a redditor, and despite their size they're not particularly dangerous. See. Steve begins stroking Celio009's head, mesmerizing him into a calm, accepting state. While not common out in the wilds, These fellas like to stay in their little burrows where it's safe. Have to say he's more scared of you than you are of him. Celio009 just sort of flops, limp on the ground, staring ahead and licking his lips. The Redditor can grow to 3 times the size of a human, truly remarkable, as it's always preferent to hibernate. This is why so many people think they're dangerous, is they'll catch 'em digging through their trash trying to find something to eat. But really all this fella wants is a little love.
Steve knows Redditors like head pats.
You see, one of the reasons it's so docile despite me putting a fair bit of weight on the fella is because I'm distributing my weight over his body, which simulates the feel of a weighted blanket, which for these buttes is incredibly calming. Or something like that.
He's getting quite angry when he's getting poked with a stick. / pokes me with a stick / dude, fuck off.
Nasty fella.
Awesome question. This unusually large example of his species is known to consume enormous quantities of cheese in one sitting. He is a very stealthy creature, with the ability to sit in one spot at a computer for up to 8 hours at a time. Edit, this number has been drastically reduced since the introduction of a mate and offspring into the nest.
Do you just like grab a cheese block and chow down?
Do you not?
A man of cultured milk, I see.
Well played.
I don't care, he calls me a beaut and I really needed to hear it.
You're a beaut, mate.
No, you're a beaut.
You're all beauts.
Oi, this air is a common member of his species, and as you can see he's got a fairly advanced case of fur loss, especially concentrated air at the top of his ayard. Many males you find in the wild with this condition will try to compensate by growing the fur around their faces, and this fella is no different. This one looks like he spends his days being poked and nipped at by his wee ones. Note the characteristic paunchy belly and the general lack of muscle tone. This fella can spend up to 12 hours a day grazing and trying to find a nice spot to curl up for some shut-eye. Edit. Apparently I've accidentally reimagined Steve Irwin as a 19th century Cockney bootblack, but I'm leaving it.
The first half of this hits too close to home.
Just wait till you start experiencing the second part. I write curled up on the floor next to my 2-year-old's bed at 3 in the morning. She's ill and require constant soothing. No, we don't know if it's corona. My wife is in our bedroom with a squealing 3-week-old. I fell asleep during a lecture today. Not one I sat as a student. A lecture I was giving.
Sounds enticing, lol.
I mean, anyone who tells you kids are the greatest are lying to some degree. Also, kids are the greatest and I wouldn't trade the experience for anything. You should have some.
The truest sentiment of a parent. It's the greatest, and most rewarding, ass-kicking, exhausting, stressful job I have ever had, but I wouldn't trade it for anything, most days.
Crikey. This Lil Ronga is quite the sneaky little one. This particular type of animal can hide in a dark room all day and never even see the sunshine. She will do as much as she can to avoid others of her kind. Edit. I don't remember what he called gingers, so I fixed it. Thank you for correcting me, fellow Redditors.
Man, are all gingers the same? Cuz. Same.
It's the soul that makes the sun feel good, so probably.
The Irish really are the damned.
My favorite saying about the Irish is being Irish. He had an abiding sense of tragedy, which sustained him through temporary periods of joy, and I don't think I've ever related so well to anything.
That's from W.B. Yeats. The man could turn a hell of a phrase. Oi, be very careful, mates. We have to show dominance. If we show any affection towards this creature, he'll get attached to us and never leave us alone. Truly one of the most terrifying beasts in North America.
When I was a kid, my parents were about to get divorced, so I spent my time hiding. One day, I was so desperate for some human contact that I sat in a busy place on the playground and looked sad, hoping someone would ask if I was okay.
I did something similar that I can't even bring myself to fully explain. I don't think I really recognized how lonely I was.
I used to do this, but people kept coming over and asking me, "Are you okay, little buddy?" And that would annoy me because I didn't actually want to be around people. I just didn't want to feel lonely.
This hit me in the feels. When you are little, you don't understand it yet. At least I didn't.
Wait, I feel like this and I don't understand it yet. What is it? Edit. Should say I'm autistic.
Isn't he a beauty? You're all right, fella. You're all right. This guy is out looking for a Sheila, but he isn't having much luck. He's coming in late to the party.
I laughed way harder at that last but than I probably should have.
At least you aren't the one thinking it might not be so bad to be pinned down by Steve Irwin.
I'm with you there, stranger. I'm with you there.